Welcome to the Business and Growth Podcast. Today I have with me Brian Massey, and we are talking about the human element in CRO. And this is a really important conversation as far as I'm concerned, and I think, Brian, you agree with me. 9 out of 10 businesses worldwide are making AI skills their top priority for the next 5 years. Now, that's a scary proposition if we aren't up to date on AI. So that's what we're going to talk about. My name is Kathryn Aragon. I'm your host. And Brian, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Brian Massey. I'm the founder of Conversion Sciences. We're a CRO agency, and we work with a lot of humans all the time. So I think we have a unique perspective on the human element.
Okay, so let's kick it off with just a very simple question. Because when you think about the human element, it's kind of about networking. Why is networking important in this CRO industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you introduced this topic, I had that in mind, and I also had just the fact that even though we're using data and experimentation and A/B testing, we're doing it in the service of humans, at least for the foreseeable future. We are actively watching to see how much of our website traffic or clients' website traffic is going to be coming as agents, as people offload more and more of what they're doing to agents who are then going to come visit the websites.
Now
Um,
that's an interesting thought. Is there a way in analytics to discern between agents and humans?
there is, so you can look at the agent that is reported by the browser. It will tell you if it's one of the chat right now, one of the chat bots, or one of the bots that is working for ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, et
Hmm.
cetera. So we can see that. Um, it it's I don't think it's something I have to worry so much about in 2025, which is really the focus of Conversion Live. But it makes for an interesting thought experiment when our websites have to be good at servicing agents more so than humans. But in 2025 and 2026, we're still going to be spending most of our time figuring out the human element, the human factor, with
Hmm.
our science and our experiments and our analytics and everything. It all comes back to human behaviors.
It really does. Now, I would love to dig more into the AI stuff, but we're here to talk about the human element. So let's get on with that. Um, I mean, in just broad marketing, in SEO, in content, and all of this, I see AI transforming everything I do. How is AI transforming your work as a conversion rate optimizer?
Well, it's allowing me to be a human that I'm not. So, we've talked about it before, but the big challenge is I'm going to write copy for my website, or I'm going to write the copy for my landing page. Either I'm going to do it, I'm going to hire a copywriter that does it, we're going to do it as a team, but we are locked into our ways of seeing the world. Um, Brian Jeffrey Eisenberg gave us a nice model, modes of persuasion, they called it. I see it as more as modes of research. I'm a fairly humanist, which means that, as I'm writing to kind of talk about the connections and what the experience would be of, for our business, what the experience would be of working with us. And I know that there are enough methodical people out there to sprinkle in the details, processes, how we do it, scientific method, and all of that. But really, I have a hard time writing copy that's fundamentally different. And when we're testing, that's what we want to do. It turns out that the language models don't have a problem with that. So they can be different kinds of humans if we learn how to tell them what kind of human we want to be. So I can say, I want to be I want to rewrite this page for a competitive, or rewrite this section for a competitive. And I can tell them that's a NT on the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And it has no problem completely changing its stripes and giving me that. And that gives me a very testable chunk of copy. So it's different enough that I can see an effect if I was to run an A/B test. Um, I think that the less time that we are spending doing research, which used to take a great deal of Google search, click through, read some things, click through, read some things, and bouncing back and forth. The fact that we can get that done much more quickly, and it's going to just keep getting better and better, tells us that we can spend more time than going in and being like, okay, what do I know about this person? How can I make my brand more fun, more emotional, more interesting, drier if that's the brand direction that
Hmm.
we want to go? If we're selling, you know, complex manufacturing equipment, we may want to just know that we're talking to engineers and they're going to appreciate it if we talk about part numbers and sizes and variations and
Gauges.
tolerances,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So, but that's human too. That
Hmm.
is taking what the language model gives us, and right now it's in this very happy game showy, like, oh, I'm very happy to do that for you, and it writes it in a voice that, unless we specifically instruct it otherwise, is going to be very agreeable.
Yes.
We know that methodicals do not like the human touch, so we can go in and make it less agreeable for our audience, and that is human.
So
Um,
you're talking about all these different types of people. There are four types, right?
there are four types that we use, and it's think of it as kind of a shortcut for the kind of people that are visiting your website. And every audience is going to be sliced up differently. If you're um, coming to buy merch for a brand that you like, you're probably gonna be very spontaneous. It's not it wearing the hat that has the logo on it is the statement that you want to make, and you're gonna be less interested in the stitching and the fit and the material. I mean, you want to look good, but you're going to be a little more spontaneous as opposed to, as I said, if you're looking for manufacturing equipment, then your engineering reputation's on the line. You want to get the right part and get the right quantity at the right price, and so it's very different. So it allows us to use experimentation to kind of figure out, do we have more humanists who are more connection and relationship oriented, or more of these competitive types who are like, what's in it for me? And you can actually design pages to service various different segments.
Do you usually create a page for a specific type or do you merge them?
I mean, the pages we generally create end up being for one type, and it's us who wrote them. That is the problem.
Generally, yes.
Oh, yes. A landing page that has an offer to, get a demo is going to have somebody coming in a very different mode for a white paper on your industry. One's going to be earlier, the latter's going to be earlier on doing research. Probably the same person can come as a methodical person, and they're like, okay, I've got to try this product. They're going to be spontaneous. They're like, okay, just where's the sign up form? And don't get in my way as I'm trying to, give you my contact information. So it, it's a really nice shorthand for making sure that we're addressing the primary uh, personas or the ICPs.
Mhm. Now, this is old teaching, so this is not like this is coming with AI, but I can see what you're saying that AI makes it easier to target the right personality, I should say, on the landing page to make sure that the conversion occurs. Is that how much time would you say that saves you?
Honestly, it makes it possible. So I can go and interview a bunch of copywriters and try to find a copywriter that writes in that voice,
Hmm.
assuming that with with my biases, I can actually tell. So it not only makes it easier, it makes it possible. Things
Okay.
that tests that we might have bumped further down because rewriting copy is it's a heavy lift. We might have some really powerful hypotheses that don't require that much work, so we're going to probably test those first.
Hmm.
It bumps them higher because the cost of the level of effort required to do that um, goes down substantially. The difficulty is having the language model write something in somebody else's voice, and when you read it, you are going to be like, ugh, this is terrible. I
Yes.
just did an experiment to my email list, and I wrote the email in my voice, and I put a little break in there and said, okay, I went in and asked the language models what style I write in. And they said, oh my gosh, you write in a humanist. Like this is the Myers-Briggs NFs for those of you that are familiar with Myers-Briggs. And then I said, well, rewrite this for a methodical. And so I shared that with the audience in that same email and asked them to vote which they preferred. Now, my list is going to be skewed because the people that stay on my list are probably going to prefer the way I write. But I was surprised that only 70% preferred mine, and the other 30% said there was no difference, or they preferred the methodical, the one written by the language model. So I read that and I was like, no, this, should I send this? This is not, like no one's going to prefer this methodical, boring. I was completely wrong. So that
Wow.
was the hard part. I even wanted to go in and maybe edit it a little bit because like
Hmm.
there's no way they're going to like this. Very eye-opening. It doesn't mean
Yes.
I'm going to change the way I'm writing my emails, but I have an idea of the size of my audience that is a little bit more methodical in the way they like
Well,
their communications.
that's true. At least 30%, right?
Hmm. And that's
Okay, so
okay.
so we've talked about this as a challenge, and a lot of conversion rate optimization is simply getting inside your customer's head, and we've established AI can help you do that.
Yeah.
How does it help to have to network and meet other copywriters and share what we're learning? How does that fit into this?
Yeah, the thing that I'm noticing is the baseball cards of our industry are prompts. Um, and the reason that we're really emphasizing networking at Conversion Live is because it is the one thing that I saw in a presentation. So I sit and watch a 30-minute presentation or go to one of the workshops that we've got, or I sit in on one of the panel discussions. And there's one or two things that are like, oh, okay. But I have that same experience, oftentimes more directed when I am, networking around lunch or at one of the gatherings after, a live presentation. And we start to talk about our common problems. And
Mhm.
there's that, well, you know what we did. And those become really valuable because we're talking very specifically about the problem that I have. And now the currency is prompts. So I was at a conference, it was a year ago, but the guy said, I really want to get in touch with you. And I said, well, I have a business card. I have a paper business card. And he's like, perfect. I'll take a picture of that. And he had a prompt, an AI prompt that took that, stripped the information out, dropped it into a spreadsheet, and then sent him an email so that he could add it to his contact list. Now, of course, the AI would just add it to the contact list, but he may have wanted to filter those.
Mhm.
So and then he sent me the prompt that he used to do that. So suddenly I was able to do this as well. So uh, prompts might even be the new memes. It's how we
Oh yeah.
communicate shorthand some pretty complex capabilities.
Hmm.
One of the things that we're going to be learning at Conversion Live is how you get the first thing you do is you get the language model to write your prompt for you. And then you paste that prompt into a brand new session and it gives you what it is. But you're literally telling it, I'm trying to write a prompt that will tell me these things. And you do the back and forth. And then at the end, you say, all
Hmm.
right, summarize this in a prompt that would um, give me the answers I'm looking for. And so it become, you'll read the prompt perhaps. When I read those prompts, I'm surprised at the things that it thought of that I didn't think of. Um,
Always. Yeah.
so in a nice little box, I can hand that to someone else and say, okay,
Hmm.
here's how you find that answer to that question. So will there be PDFs that are, a little bit of explanation and a prompt, and you're cutting and pasting these prompts to really get the knowledge that you want? I think it's happening now.
Yeah.
Look at Notebook LM. I could paste something into Notebook LM and have it generate a podcast for me.
Hmm.
It's going to be able to generate video. It's going to be able to generate video in my voice and with my likeness.
Yeah, with
Like,
your
hang on,
as if
and
you are doing it.
yeah. But I missed this interaction as well, so I don't think it's going to take over all of that.
I don't see how it can because, I mean, that's what this podcast episode is about. That human element is essential on some level. And I think we're at this stage where we're trying to determine what level, like where is it better to use the AI and where is it better to invest in the human element.
Mhm.
Have you had any thoughts about that?
Yeah, there was something. I think Christopher Penn said it. That if you're using the language models and you're not happy with what you're getting from them, you're doing something wrong.
Hmm.
The language models have infinite knowledge of all of humanity. Um, and if you're getting bland results or stuff that you already knew, uh, there's another level to go to in terms of how you're interacting with the language models. But
Hmm.
this is the year that you have to have those skills. 2026 will be too late. 2024 was the last year that we could say wait and see. And so this is something that that we're dialing into Conversion Live and making sure that we're covering these things. Um, and I think the thing that keeps it from being overwhelming is like you don't really have to know it's in the prompts once you have them.
Hmm. And
Nuggets of inquisitiveness. They're like little blobs of curiosity that you can kind of plug into a language model and discover the world.
that is so true. And all right, there last year I was seeing a lot of discussion around AIs replacing Google. Now, Google is not going to let that happen, and they're acting more like an LLM themselves or a
Hmm.
chat themselves. I don't type in keywords or phrases anymore. I type in my same question that I would have given ChatGPT, and I get an answer. So I guess I find this really interesting, this idea of how AI is taking over and how it doesn't matter what my question is, and it almost doesn't matter whether I go to Google or ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. You're right, we have this infinite library of knowledge at our fingertips, and it can think more clearly, it can read between the lines of our question to give us the
Hmm.
answer we were actually looking for instead of having to, like in the old days in Google, well, okay, that variation didn't work. What if I type it in like this? It is so interesting how much knowledge there is. And I'm hearing AI is almost to the max of our knowledge,
Yeah, it all seems very scary, I guess, is what I
right?
put it that way.
Exciting and
Um,
scary at the same time.
yeah. But right now they are our servants, and as in uh, any relationship like that, it's how well you communicate. Um,
Hmm.
it and I choose to kind of see them as a peer, which
That's
might
how I
be
see it. Yes.
generous. I might be being generous to myself, but they're a peer. And so how we communicate with them is absolutely the key.
Well,
Um,
let's dive into that a little bit more. Used to, and we have a copywriter coming to Conversion Live who talks about these 40,000 word prompts. I read a couple of weeks ago that you're almost dumbing down the AI if you do that. And what you just said actually made me think of that. If we don't give the prompt in the right way, we can actually be limiting it and it won't give us as good information. But I don't do that. I don't write these big elaborate prompts. I start a conversation as if I were sitting in the room chatting, just
mhm.
like I am with you. How do you do prompts? How do you think about talking to a chat GPT, say?
Well, so first of all, one of the main reasons we're doing Conversion Live is so that we can learn this as well.
Yes.
So there are people, Chris Mercer comes to mind, Christopher Penn, who they are now allocating big chunks of their time to understanding this. And I think Chris made a really good point at dinner. It was uh, the key is not to tell the language model how to do it. You need to tell it what you want and let it teach you how to prompt it.
I love
So
that.
we imagine ourselves typing out and imagining all the things that we would want to tell it. No, just have it tell us.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I can't explain to you how to do it, but by the time Conversion Live is done, I'm going to be able to tell you how to
There
do
you
it.
go. And that's partly why we're coming, right? Just to share what we've each experienced and learned so we can all get better together.
It's
Hmm.
a fun time. It's a dangerous time, not because we're going to be overrun by AIs in 2025, but we're going to have to change what we do just to keep up. And those of us that are early adopters, those of us that come to Conversion Live,
Hmm.
going to be among those, like the tagline on the landing page. And AI is not going to take your job. Someone using AI is going to take your job, and you will
Right.
be that person.
And they're already doing it. So if we haven't started, we're behind.
Yeah. And I think that's another part of the human element that maybe we should mention is, uh, you know, we're uh, we're targeting digital marketers and business owners and directors and CMOs, and these are people with families to support and careers to
Hmm.
grow and natural curiosities. And that's why we're programming in some stuff around how you re-engineer your career with all of these new
Yes.
technologies. We've just been talking about AI because it's so mind-bogglingly impactful, but there are other technologies that you need to know.
I've
Um,
invited Marin Paris to talk with us about that. I have watched his career just boom, boom, boom. He has gone up. He's a senior director of marketing now, whereas
mhm.
he start just a couple of years ago, he was a manager doing content marketing. And the way he has managed to grow his career has been really impressive. And then he also leans heavily into AI. So I know he's going to bring us some useful information.
I was going to say the other piece of it is we should have a very intelligent chatbot to help people understand why they should come to
Oh,
Conversion Mode.
yes.
So they don't have to watch this entire video.
Hmm.
We'll drop this video in and it will answer their questions
That's
based on
right.
reasons.
So
So
tell
we're
us a
pretty
little bit
excited
about
about that.
Conversion Mind.
So Conversion Mind is it is so not everybody learns the same way that you learn.
Hmm.
There are people who uh, want a specific problem and they want to find the specific Reddit post that tells them that one answer. It's kind of the way I work. And then there are others who are like, oh, here's a domain I don't know information about, so I'm going to get a 10 session video series. I'm going to watch it all and I'm going to take notes and I'm going to take the tests and I'm going to pass the test. And that's the way I learn. So, having a library full of videos and presentations that most shows come out with, seemed like it was just that one mode of doing it. So we're going to create Conversion Mind. We're going to put all those videos into a language model. And then you get to ask it like, oh, I'm trying to solve a problem on a landing page headlines. What all was talked about at Conversion Live that addressed that issue? And you get the answers to those. It'll jump you to the place in the video that you can watch that particular section. It'll let you download the slides so that you can do that. Um, but there will be a big segment of our audience that's going to learn that way. That's more like the way I learn. I want to find the equivalent of the Reddit post that answers that question, and I think that we're going to be able to get that too, but with all of the media still there.
Hmm. That's exciting. And Brian, I know you're building that even now
Hmm.
to make sure that it's got other information in it as well as the presentations at Conversion Live. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I do too.
So, how do you see the future of marketing and CRO and the collaboration that we're going through right now? How do you see that unfolding?
Um, how do I see that unfolding? So I think I hope that the theme of this conversation is going to come true, and that is that having these super smart language models,
Hmm.
intelligences, whatever you want to call them, is not going to flood the world with copycat. boring,
Mm.
lame content. I mean, some of that will be happening, but that it's going to free cycles for us to become more and more human, allow us to, as I said at the outset, um, be more fun, be more human,
Hmm.
be different parts of ourselves that we didn't think we were. And that's what I think it's going to do. A lot of the language, a lot of the AI intelligence is just going to show up in our tools, and we probably won't even know that it's there, other than when we're looking at session recordings, we don't have to watch 200 of them to get an idea what's going on. It will give us a summary and some
Mm.
hypotheses. And
Yeah.
um, we SiteWiz is going to be there. SiteViz
Yes.
is going to be at Conversion Live to show us how they're doing that. So
Hmm.
those are the places where it's going to be almost invisible. Um, but I think from a human standpoint, we're gonna have more time to do the things we got excited about when we got into marketing. And we got excited about those commercials and those campaigns that made us tear up and made us really want to buy that brand. And we want to change hearts and minds. We get to spend more time doing that.
That's awesome. And I agree with you. I hope that's exactly what we come out of Conversion Live with. But thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing your thoughts today.
Yeah.
Brian, if people want to reach out to you or if they want to sign up for Conversion Live, where should they go?
Conversionlive.com.
Okay. Anything else you would like to share with us?
No, I enjoyed the conversation.
It's been fun.